Now, there was some concern about whether or not he would be able to handle the distance and the 3 races in 5 weeks. But if we had simply listened to Jerry Bailey, we would never have worried, because I've never heard a guy on a pre-show like Jerry on NBC just come out and say, this horse is going to win. That's all there is to it. He's going to win. There was no equivocation. There was no hesitation. He's going to win. So we said, let's get Jerry on. Jerry, Michael K., Don LaGreca, how you doing?
How you guys doing? Listen, before we start, I thought your colleague was going to say his greatest personal disappointment was that you guys had never watched a horse race. I'm thinking, oh, my God, this is going to be terrible.
No, I love horse racing. That's why I was so riveted by that race on Saturday. Jerry, how did you know, with such certitude, that horse was going to win on Saturday?
Well, so many times, Mike, we come to the Belmont and horses are kind of just knocked out. The first 2 wins take their toll on them physically, and they look like it. I mean, I can look at a horse, if I've seen him before, because I started watching these horses like in January. So I know, when they're getting better physically and, they're kind of peaking. And this horse, to me, looked as good as he did going into the Kentucky Derby, maybe even better. And his workout was as spectacular as the one going into the Kentucky Derby. And what a lot of people overlooked was the fact that he only had 2 races going into the Kentucky Derby prior to that, which everybody else had at least 3. And because he had a foot injury like last December, and it was like till end of January before he really started training, full steam. So he was late, actually, and the worry by many was that he wouldn't be ready for the Kentucky Derby. So once he won that race, it worked to his advantage, and he was actually, in my opinion, peaking coming into the Belmont, and that was his best race. And I think it might have been his best race of the 3.
Now, we've waited a long time for this, a long time, 37 years. There's been a lot of horses that have banged on the door. Is it automatic that American Pharoah is better than those horses, or did circumstances dictate that he got the breaks necessary to be able to get these 3 wins?
Well, he did get easy trips, but I'm going to tell you, well, I wouldn't say easy trips. He got what appeared to be easy trips. First of all, I wouldn't say that he's better than Secretariat, but I believe that he would be in the conversation with Seattle Slew and Affirmed, the other 2 horses that won the Triple Crown in the 70s. I'm not old enough to have gone back and give you a personal opinion on the horses prior to that, which was 1948 Citation and before. But good horses, especially good horses that are fast early in the race, and good horses that are fast early in the race and then will relax once they get to where the rider wants them to be, are almost impossible to beat, because whoever goes with them early and challenges them early get run into submission, and they lose all of their chance. So, it's like his horse has a high cruising speed. If you want to go with me, you're going to kill yourself. If you don't, I'm going to beat you. So it's kind of a no-win situation for a lot of his competition.
Jerry Bailey, Hall of Fame jockey, is with us here on the Michael K. Show. Jerry, were you surprised that Victor took him out front right at the beginning and stayed that way? Did you think that was the way the race would be run?
I'd have been shocked if he didn't.
Okay.
He's fast enough to be on the lead at shorter distances and faster times. Do you remember the Preakness, which is a little bit shorter than the Derby and a lot shorter than the Belmont? It was a torrential downpour, and he had the inside post. And horses typically don't do good with mud in their face. So, he blasted off, and he rocketed the first quarter of a mile really, really fast, and because he was forced to. If he could do that, I thought there's no reason he shouldn't be on the lead in the Belmont.
Did you think that Frosted had a chance at the stretch? It looked like he was toying with him and looked like he was catching him, and then all of a sudden there was another gear.
Yeah, your eyes went from American Pharoah back to Frosted and back and forth and back and forth. And you're watching Frosted close the gap and close the gap and close the gap. But if you look at Victor Espinosa on American Pharoah, he's like a statue.
Right.
He had never moved on this horse, and the horse's ears were like forward, which means he's just out there having fun. I knew as soon as Frosted, I really expected Victor to kind of blast off before Frosted even got as close as he did. Had he done that, he probably would have won by 10. But he did the prudent thing and not moving, and asking American Pharoah for his best until he completely straightened up in the stretch, and it was all over.
Jerry, when do you think we'll see him again?
You could ask Bob after that, and he won't tell you because he won't know. He won't know until the horse starts training again. But my guess is that it won't be that long. A typical first race comeback for any of Bob Baffert's Triple Crown horses would be the Haskell Handicap at Monmouth Park, which this year is August 2nd. It's usually the end of July, beginning of August. But he went back to Churchill Downs, and based upon the way he cooled out, I watched him washing off, it didn't take a lot out of him. The Belmont really didn't take a lot out of his horse. So I would expect for him to go back to the racetrack in earnest on Thursday, as he typically does. His first workout would probably be a week to 10 days after that. And so I'm going to say by the third week in June, maybe by the end of June, we will know from Baffert where he's pointing.
I love horse racing, but the thing that saddens me about this week, we get this, I guess, super horse that's won the Triple Crown. And maybe, Jerry, we get to see him 2 at the most 3 times, and then he goes to stud. And it's just that the way the business is set up, he could make more money in stud than he could make racing, and you can't really risk him getting hurt. It's just set up the wrong way to see this horse for a couple of years run and be great.
You make a very good point, Michael, and that's exactly why I think that our industry is suffering a lot. It would be like seeing Michael Jordan or LeBron James for 1 year or 2 years and then saying, see you. I guess we're lucky in one regard that he is going to run the rest of the year. A lot of, owners feel it's much too risky. The insurance premiums, mortality insurance would be much too expensive and just wouldn't want to take the risk. But see, Zayat, his owner, has the rights to race him through the end of the year, but then Coolmore Stud, an Irish organization, owns the breeding rights. So it's two different entities making decisions. So, Ahmed Zayat, his owner, stands to make a lot of money before the end of the year by running them, but he will be prudent.
Now, what will it all mean for horse racing itself? So when he races at Monmouth, if he does, when he races at Saratoga, will it be more people? Will there be bigger purses? Just him being involved in these races, what does it do for the popularity of the sport and the places he runs going forward?
Oh, it'll be a big boost where he runs in the short term. Monmouth, Saratoga, Breeders' Cup. Not that those venues really need bigger crowds, because every one of those races would get a maximum crowd anyway, but it would be overflow for sure. I think the television ratings would probably be increased in those particular races. But next Thursday at Belmont, there's not going to be 20,000 people.
Right.
It's just not going to do enough for our industry. I don't even know that it would do a lot next Triple Crown season unless there was a Triple Crown on the line again. And then some people that missed it or were intrigued by it or first-time watchers and were thrilled by it, then I believe they would tune in. But I think Mike's point that they leave so soon that they're not around the next year, it creates a void that I don't know how to fill.